this is the problem. This is the problem with propaganda, you know. This is the problem with nation building. Nation building, they need to create heroes and wonder stories and miracles that happened to create a nation. But in reality, it wasn't like that. No, 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 no. In reality, it was a lot, it was bad. It was deceit, it was fraud, it was backstabbing, it was a lot of that, a lot of that. And that's how, because that's what people are like, that's what they are. They're very, very, you have to be careful. But what I'm trying to get to is this. Basically, I don't believe that, I don't believe all those heroic deeds that the Albanians did. I'm not saying they didn't do any. They did do. They did plenty. But the problem in Albania, you know what happened in Albania? I'll tell you. Okay, when the Turks came to Albania, yeah, during the 15th, 14th century, 15th century, the Albanians were very busy fighting each other. The principalities, mainly, and the clans and the different tribes were they were having blood feuds between them. There was a lot of blood feuds going on and tribal warfare between the different Albanian clans and principalities. And this was no joke. It was real. It was very, very like deep hatred between them. It was serious. It wasn't just, oh, we're brothers. No, 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 no. They hated each other in the sense that it was a real feud. It was a blood feud. It means it was a death feud. So when the Turks came along, basically they just marched straight in, and they weren't seen as an enemy. Amongst the clans, they weren't seen as an enemy. They were seen as not as a friend, but not even as an enemy, because the Albanians already had their own enemies, which were other Albanians. They were enemies between themselves. So when the Turks came, the Albanians didn't pay them no mind. They said, oh, whatever, fuck them, you know what I mean? And they didn't see them as a threat. That's what I'm trying to say. They didn't see the Turks as a threat. They didn't see what the Turks were about to do, which was take the fuck over Albania. They were just going to run Albania over, man. And why did they run Albania over? Let me tell you why. It's simple. Because of these blood feuds that were like, they sort of blinded the Albanians. They blinded them of the threat that the Ottomans actually made, foreseen. And also many Albanian principalities and whatever clans also, aligned with them and sort of like worked with the Ottomans against other Albanians. Yeah, against their enemies. Because their enemies, like I said, were the Albanians, the other Albanian clans. And this is where the problem started. And this is how Albania fell apart. This is why Albania fell apart. Because Albania was not like today's Albania. There was no nation. It was the principalities and clans and different sects, different families of Albanians. And every fucking sect stayed with their own people. They didn't mix. They didn't give a fuck about the other people, yeah? Albanian, they spoke the same language, but they didn't give a fuck about them. I know Albanian's mentality, man, because I come from Italy, yeah? And I come from a very tight community, yeah? And I know my fucking people, what they're like. And we're still doing that today. Even today we're doing it. I fucking personally experienced all this. In my family, I experienced it. I experienced this hate and this vengeance and this... We are very tough on each other, you understand me? We're very unforgiving on each other. We will forgive a stranger or a German or a French or an Italian guy or anyone. We'll forgive them because, okay, they're not from here. But as soon as our own person makes a mistake, we never forgive them. We're very tough on our own. and we're unforgiving, and we're very bad in that way. Yeah, and that's our fucking problem. So I can imagine that's what happened in the 15th century. They came marching in, the Turks, and they were not seen as a threat. And like I said, many Albanians aligned with them and took on the mantle of the Turks, and then they became Turks themselves, most of them, you know. And Albania didn't fall because the Turks conquered Albania. Albania fell because the Albanians conquered Albania for the Turks. That's how it happened. Albanians conquered Albania for the Turks. They facilitated it, they helped it happen, they made it happen. And don't fucking tell me shit. And the Albrecht, yeah? Why did most of the Albrecht leave? Because the Albanians were fighting amongst each other. The Albrecht, when the Albrecht saw this, there was no choice. Most Albrecht, anyway, they didn't have any, they're just simple people, most Albanians, yeah? So they left. They weren't Albrecht and Albanians, they were just the same people. But I mean, that's what happened. The Albanians were fighting and killing Albanians. Don't tell me your bullshit propaganda, yeah? History, yeah? Your propaganda shit. It's not just Albania that does nationalistic propaganda. The Greeks do it, the Serbs do it, everyone's doing it. Even the Italians are doing it. That's how you create nations, yeah? By propaganda, by bullshit history. But the truth of the matter is much different. If you fucking still want to believe in fantasy, that's your problem. Me, I don't believe in fantasy. I live in the real world. I live in the real world today, and I know what the real world was even before. It wasn't much different than today. The same conniving, the same deviousness, the same cunning, the same corruption, the same everything, okay? If you're too dumb to understand it, that's your problem. But yeah, in the end, the Albanians did regain their conscience, they did regain their sense of identity, they did regain their sense of unity as a people, and in the end the Albanian state was formed. But it fell because of the disunity between the Albanians. Because, the Albanian strength is their stubbornness and their power and their will, but that's also their downfall. At the same time, it's also their downfall. It's also their weakness. And that's the problem with Albanians, you see. They're very tough, but this toughness can cause weakness, you know what I mean? That's why it's... Well, that's how I see it. Because I also know it's a fact. It's a fact. We have documents about it. I've read documents about it. And I've worked it out because of the Albanian psyche, how Albanians think. So what happened there was the principalities, even Skanderbeg, yeah? It was very difficult for him to keep the principalities united. He did unite all the principalities, Balsha and all them, Spani, Tukajini, whatever, Dushmani and Zakaria and all them. He did unite them, the League of Leza, for a while. But there was always mistrust between them. There was always mistrust. Because Albanians are like that. They're very dangerous even amongst themselves. And as soon as Skanderbeg died, what happened? There was betrayal left and right. They betrayed him. Even when he was alive, they betrayed him. And they betrayed him even after he died. After he died, the League of Leza disintegrated. Yeah? And everything went downhill. And many aligned themselves with the Turks for money or for interest or whatever. And that's how everything went pear-shaped. That's how it went. So the only reason why Albania fell is because of the Albanians, not because of the Turks. The Albanians facilitated it. Yeah? Because the principalities never give a fuck about Albania as a whole. They only cared about their own principalities, about their own clan. They didn't care about... There was no sense of nationhood at that time, That's how it happened. That's how it happened. If you don't want to Listen, that's how it happened. That's my opinion, yeah? That's how it happened. It's not my opinion, it's a fact. But, it's hard to write that down because the Albanians don't want to hear that. They don't want to hear that. They want to hear heroes. They want to hear fantasies. They want to hear heroic deeds. They want to hear about great this and great... Yeah, there was great... There was many things, but... Nothing. Maybe there was 30, 40, 50 years of heroic deeds. After that, it was just betrayal and deceit. But yeah, in the end, we've got an Albanian nation. You got an Albanian nation, but the Albanians even today, they're not. I don't know about Albanians, but we Albers, no one give a fuck about, Albers don't care about each other. They only care about their villages. If you come from that village, that's it. It's villages and village, you know what I mean? But they don't really care about as a whole, as a whole. They don't care. Because they still have the old mentality of clan, of village, of this, of whatever. The Albers, yeah, sometimes they get together for festivals, but look, I can tell you from personal experience, from my family, yeah, we are our own worst enemy. My family is their own worst enemy. I can tell you something about where I come from in Italy, yeah. We come from a secluded place up in the mountains, and we lived amongst ourselves. And what happened in Albania 500 years ago happened in our villages now, 50 years ago. We fought against each other. We fought amongst ourselves. We ostracized ourselves. My father, for example, he had to leave. Yeah, he had to leave because they told him he had to leave. Basically, or they were gonna kill him. Basically, they were gonna kill him. Yeah, or he had to kill them, or he would be killed, or dishonor, some kind of shit, this kind of thing. So what do? You left. Many left. My father left, Andrews left, Canada, Australia. We went everywhere just to have peace and quiet, because you stay there and it's just always war, always problems, always some shit, Because that's the problem with Albanians, you know what I mean? They're just like... It's hard to live with them, to be honest, because you know what? I'll tell you the truth. I prefer other people because they're less volatile. Whereas Albanians, you know that you have to, if you have a problem with them, then you have to, it's serious. Or you have to kill them, or they kill you, and it gets serious, man. So what do? You avoid these problems and you say, fuck it, man. Ain't worth it. But yeah, it is what it is. What can you do? Listen, man. Fantasy is fantasy. You want to believe what you want to believe, it's up to you.